Hello everyone, my name is Presley and today I'm going to be doing a quick presentation on amphetamine psychosis and its genetic overlap with schizophrenia. And so quickly let's talk about why amphetamines can cause psychosis, and that's going to be because post-injection there's going to be, an increase in dopamine happening, and dopamine in general is associated with positive symptoms such as hallucinations and delusions. And also this dopamine increase is going to happen in the mesolimbic dopamine region, which again is going to be from the ventral tegmental area to the nucleus accumbens. And so this is the same region that we hypothesize that patients with schizophrenia have dysregulated dopamine, increase in dopamine. So first we see that biological overlap in that these are the regions being affected in both the induced psychosis and schizophrenia. And also we know that it's excess dopamine that is occurring in both. Additionally, amphetamines can cause neural inflammation. And so neural inflammation is going to activate the microglial cells, which are kind of like the immune cells in the brain. And that's going to trigger synaptic pruning in the prefrontal cortex, which is ultimately just decreasing, information processing happening, which is going to, again, kind of contribute to those hallucinations and delusions happening. And then also sleep deprivation is also another side effect from amphetamines that can also contribute to psychosis. An important thing to note here is that amphetamine-induced psychosis can occur in any individual. But what we are saying is that there are certain individuals who have genetic vulnerabilities, same, gene risks, that we see in schizophrenia that are more likely to have induced psychosis with smaller doses. And so let's just say 10 milligrams is needed for a normal brain to be induced into psychosis. Well, for individuals with the genetic vulnerability, it might be more like 2 grams of amphetamine. So that's what we're saying. So now let's talk about the gene risks. What genes are kind of getting dysregulated or increased or whatever that are shared between the two disorders. And so really 4 big key ones. First one is going to be the DRD2. That is going to be the dopamine D2 receptor gene. That one is going to be hypersensitive, meaning that it's going to fire way more easy, considered or compared to a regular, D2 receptor. And so it'll take less amount of dopamine to have the same firing, where maybe it would initially need more dopamine, if that makes sense. They also have the dopamine transporter gene. This is going to be the transporter that removes dopamine from the synapse. And so when this is dysregulated, it's going to basically keep dopamine in the synapse longer, which is going to, again, prolong any firing of the signal. Also, amphetamine naturally is going to block dopamine reuptake. And so you couple that with the fact that the transporter is also a little slower, you're going to have more buildup and you're going to have a longer response. And then we have GRIN2A and GRIN2B. These are both NMDA receptors subtypes. And so these regulate glutamate. Amphetamines kind of indirectly increase glutamate, and glutamate is an important excitatory neurotransmitter for thinking and processing. And so basically what we're overall seeing is these are all genes controlling dopamine and glutamate, and we have dysregulation and dysfunction in these systems. And so again, amphetamines are going to naturally boost dopamine regardless, but with individuals who have these genetic vulnerabilities, they're going to cross the threshold of psychosis way easier than individuals without these genetic vulnerabilities. And again, these are risk genes that we see occur also in schizophrenia. And so to kind of put all this together, what we're saying, these disorders look the same / have kind of the same clinical symptoms because of their biological overlap. And so they both have overactive mesolimbic dopamine. They have reduced frontal cortex control, again from the neural inflammation. They have glutamate and NMDA dysregulation. In fact, something I found really interesting was that amphetamine psychosis is actually considered a model for dopamine dysregulation in research. And ultimately what we're saying is that amphetamine psychosis disproportionately occurs in people who have genetic vulnerabilities similar to schizophrenia. So the drug does not cause schizophrenia, but it can show an existing risk. In fact, individuals who have these genetic vulnerabilities can be pushed into a schizophrenia-like illness if they have chronic use. And these are my resources.